Hello everybody, it is me, Avery, and welcome to my video for the PADL3 quarterfinals. With a record of 5-2, we were able to make it into playoffs in second place, which is super dope. But before I get to who I'm fighting, I have to talk a little bit more about playoffs because I realized that I've been really vague about the rules of this league. There are two divisions, Blaze Kick and Flower Trick. I'm in the Flower Trick division. And the top three from each division make playoffs. So I finished second in Flower Trick. I'm pretty sure I was third overall. And the divisions fight within each other for the first two rounds of playoffs, and then the finals is Blaze Kick versus Flower Trick. So me being second, I'd have to go through quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals to win because I don't get a bye. So I got my work cut out for me. And for the actual battles themselves, they're best of three, nothing different, rules-wise there, but each player, prepares 8 Pokemon, and then for each match, they, make a team out of those 8 Pokemon, like a 6 Pokemon team out of those 8 Pokemon to actually use. It's not like a custom command where it's like, 8 Pokemon on Team Preview and you choose 6, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see what Pokemon your opponent has, and that'd be kind of a nightmare. But yeah, I'm fighting against Bloop. Whoops. I'm fighting against Bloop this week. I realized that the image that I posted actually revealed that a little bit early. I'm fighting against Bloop again. Week 6, I had a very scary endgame that I only won because I was able to dodge a gunk shot with Screamtail, so, hoping to get a little less lucky. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which, yeah, so, not exactly the type of matchup breakdown that I normally do, but I wanted to talk a little bit about our teams, when we played in week 6, and kind of what my game plan is going in. Because I expected Bloop to go a lot more offensive, Unburden Sneasler, Electric Terrain Tapu Koko, Dragon Dance, Dragapult, all that kind of stuff. But instead he ran a pretty tanky team, leveraging Crocolore, Pecharunt, Gligar, all specially defensive, which really, really hampered my offense. So in this I don't want to let that happen, because I can't be getting walled out like that, because even if I Toxic Crocolore, all it takes is Crocolore stomping tantruming my Iron Moth, and then it's just losing health. Yeah, and also Sneasler. I played so poorly around Sneasler. As soon as I got Poison Touch with Iron Hands, I was like, oh, I'm losing this game. And if not for the miss, I was right. So I can't let Sneasler just be like that anymore. If I'm gonna play around Sneasler, I have to play around it in a smart way and use my pivots in a way where I'm minimizing the risk to myself. So yeah, it's all about playing smartly around Sneasler and being able to break through that specially defensive core. So the threats. Threat number 1. For my specific team, I guess in team building, Sneasler was scary until I reached a certain point where I'm like, okay, Sneasler isn't that threatening to me anymore. But yeah, number 1, Dragapult, high speed, super versatile move pool against my team, but specifically any set with Will-O-Wisp and Draco Meteor is very threatening to me, because that slows down my Iron Hands. The Ghost type means that I can't Drain Punch back any health, and the Wisp just hurts my damage output so much and lets his Pokemon barely hang on against my stab and coverage. Or Dragapult could just throw on a Choice Specs, because Choice Specs Draco Meteor lights up my team except for Screamtail, so yeah, pretty scary. Threat number 2, Crocolore. This Pokemon is surprisingly good against my team, because I don't have great fire resists, and then you also throw in the Stomping Tantrum, and it becomes kind of annoying to switch in on, because obviously I don't want to get my physical attackers Will-O-Wisp, I don't want to get my Iron Moth Stomping Tantrummed, and then you also have Yawn and Roar, which set up, so this Pokemon definitely destroyed a lot of ideas for me in team building. The last threat, Tapu Koko. It has great stabs. Specifically, Wild Charge was really threatening to me because I have a lot of Pokemon with pretty low physical defense and good special defense. Taunt can stop setup. Calm Mind can boost really high, and if I'm not faster and have something like Trick Mismagius like last time we played, then that can just easily snowball against me. And its pivoting ability is really, really strong because it puts everything in range of a kill from his breakers. So, very, very scary. So, what 8 Pokemon did I think were the best? Oh my god, I forgot to mention it. Hold up. Let me go back to the matchup breakdown real quick. Yeah. Week 7, I actually decided, I think it was on the Friday, so it's like nearing the end of week 7, I decided if I'm going to playoffs, I think that I would get more utility out of Terra Screamtail than I would Terra Mismagius and Rhydon. So I actually made 2 Terra trades, and now I have Terra Iron Hands and Terra Screamtail, so that is a slight difference. Okay. Pokemon number 1 and my dedicated lead in this matchup is Screamtail. Psychic and Fairy has a killer offensive type into his team, and Psychic Noise is really good at stopping Pokemon like Pecharunt and Gligar from recovering, and especially Crocolore, because if I can get rocks up, use Roar to bring Crocolore in, and then Psychic Noise it, then that's just 30% of Crocolore's health gone, and it can't recover that back, and if it switches out, then it's going to take another 25% when it comes back in. So, Stealth Rock, Roar, dual stabs, Screamtail is really good. I'm EV'd to live a Jolly Sneasler Gunk Shot from full. I hit 305 speed with my Screamtail, so that if Bloop wants to get really aggressive with like a slower, bulkier Adamant Scarf Sneasler that's like faster than the 303 of my Mismagius last time we played, I can go one above that and then just knock it out with a Psychic Noise. Screamtail is also really good at getting information, because if Sneasler ever outspeeds me, I know that it's Scarf, so basically, in a best of 3, getting information is really important, because even if I don't win, I'm able to formulate game plans for the next game that will hopefully let me win. Alright, I have cropped them now. Technical difficulties aside, next Pokemon, Iron Hands. This Pokemon has a fantastic win condition. Terra Poison stops Pokemon like Gligar and Pecharunt from using Toxic to wear me down, and the combination of Earthquake and Ice Punch hits his entire team. Drain Punch is really nice for getting recovery on Pokemon like Hisuian Samurott, and a Roosting Gligar, especially if Gligar is Terra Water like he ran last week. Leftovers this week, yet again, no Protect, because I wanted to fit room for Drain Punch, because that's basically like Protect, because I'm getting more recovery when I'm clicking Drain Punch. So yeah. I'm a little bit less physically defensive. I believe my EVs let me always kill a Shukaberry Tapu Koko at +2. Something like that. The 8 speed is a bit more of aggressive speed creeping, because, again, in rematches, that's when aggressive speed creeping really becomes like a mind game. So if Crocolore wants to go like 1 point faster than my no-speed Iron Hands, then I go 1 point faster than that. So yeah, Iron Hands, really great win condition in this matchup. But obviously there are some annoying Pokemon for it, like Pecharunt. Until Pecharunt terastallizes, I can't Drain Punch recover, so even though Nightshade or Shadow Ball isn't really doing much, it can consistently take off like 50% of my health, which puts me in range of Pokemon like Dragapult. So, my premier breaker in this matchup is Mismagius. Last time I ran Choice Scarf, which was good for revenge killing Dragapult and tricking Tapu Koko, but I found that outside of tricking Tapu Koko, Mismagius' Choice Scarf helped me in exactly 0 ways, so I'm deciding to remedy that by going Choice Specs. Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt hit his entire team. Dazzling Gleam eases prediction. For example, like if he has a Terra Fighting Pecharunt, I can Dazzling Gleam, so that if he switches into Hisuian Samurott, expecting a Shadow Ball, I can just snipe that. Very similar EVs to last time. I can leave a non-specs, or rather, non-boosting item, Modest Dragapult Shadow Ball from full, because he doesn't have many super great rockers, he has spikes, and because of Levitate, I can ignore that. So a lot of the time, Mismagius just wasn't taking hazard damage. I originally, not originally, I had made a change where I EV'd my Mismagius to be able to live a Tapu Koko Wild Charge from full, but I think Showdown disconnected and removed my EVs, so I didn't have the EVs to live Wild Charge. So that was something I didn't realize until making this video, so, you know, very lucky. Whoops. My next Pokemon, and actually has shockingly great synergy with Mismagius, is Bisharp. Because Mismagius is so good at picking off weakened Pokemon, if Bloop wants to bring in something like a choice item Sneasler to revenge kill, I can actually go hard into Bisharp on Sneasler, because if he wants to click something like Close Combat, then Mismagius comes back in and claims another kill. And Bisharp is also a fantastic switch into Pecharunt, forcing either a Terra or Nightshade, which is great for me. Knockoff removes Eviolite from Pokemon like Gligar and Crocodile. Iron Head is a good strong hit into Pokemon like Tapu Koko and Sneasler. Thunder Wave can sabotage Pokemon like Dragon Dance, Dragapult, what else? Hisui and Samurott, and Sneasler. And Swords Dance is just so that I can muscle through Pecharunt, because if it Terras, it can actually just recover off the damage once I remove its item. So, yeah, that's why I had Swords Dance there. I could have gone like Rocks or something, but Swords Dance just had the ability to just put in a lot of breaking power, so I decided to keep it. My fifth Pokemon, yet another new Pokemon in this matchup, is Wakan Berry Tornadus Therian. The idea with this is that it's kind of like a lure for Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko is faster than my entire team so far. With Wakan Berry, I'm able to live even a Specs Thunderbolt, and Taunt Nasty Plot has a great matchup into Gligar, because last time he ran Earthquake, U-Turn, Roost, Defog, it's like, I'm just going to taunt that and then I'm going to Nasty Plot. At +2, I even kill a +1 Koko, so if Koko comes in and wants to Calm Mind to try and live, I can just Sludge Bomb kill it. Bleak Wind Storm is my strongest move, and there is a downside to this set, which I didn't really have much about. Volt Switch Tapu Koko in particular just burns the Wakan Berry, switches out, and then Torn is forced to just settle for getting some damage on Koko instead of killing it. But I found that, like, the potential into something like Setup Koko was so high that even though it doesn't work against every single Tapu Koko set, I still found it worth using. And the last Pokemon of my main 6 is Iron Moth. Last time I ran Booster Energy, I ran Meteor Beam, which was cute, but it wasn't great because Crocodile is unaware, just completely body that. So I'm like, I need an Iron Moth set that just absolutely slaughters Crocodile. So I am Booster Energy, Special Attack, Modest, 216 Iron Moth. Iron Moth, like, people run, like, the 132 special attack with a timid nature, get the speed boost, become a good late game cleaner. But people forget, Iron Moth has 140 special attack, so I'm getting a free life orb, and I'm also modest. I'm outputting literally nuclear amounts of damage, especially when I'm clicking Acid Spray, because I realized that in our game that we played in week 6, he was, like, constantly switching out on Iron Moth. He wasn't just like, okay, I'll get some chip on Iron Moth, and then try and revenge it. He was always like, okay, I gotta switch into something for Iron Moth. So Acid Spray just nukes the special defense, and then Overheat, Sludge Wave, and Dazzling Gleam can just OHKO anything on his team. So Iron Moth is an insanely powerful breaker, and can also be pretty cute into Tapu Koko, because Acid Spray against Calm Mind actually wins 1v1 always. So, yeah. Iron Moth is great. And my first bench Pokemon, Terapagos Terastal. For matchups where he doesn't have, like, toxic Pokemon, I decided that Dual Dance, Terapagos with Rock Polish and Calm Mind could be good. Normal ground hits his entire team really hard, and I'm EV'd to outspeed a Scarf Sneasler after a Rock Polish, and I just put a bunch in bulk so that I could just get those Calm Minds up consistently against Pokemon like Dragapult and Pecharunt. And this team is very weak to Hisuian Samurott. Outside of Screamtail, I don't have many... Actually, outside of Screamtail and Iron Hands, I don't have many ways of actually dealing with that Pokemon. So, I have a backup in Choice Scarf Shaman. I'm easy to outspeed a Hisuian Samurott, and I could just destroy it with Seed Flare. Earth Power is really nice coverage because it hits Tapu Koko, it hits Crocodile, it hits Pecharunt. Healing Wish is great at reviving my Iron Hands, though usually I'll be using Heal Bell to like cure status. And Baton Pass is really nice for pivoting. But that is all I have for the team. But I wanted to talk a little bit because, you know, this is 8 weeks. It's been 8 weeks and I haven't made videos in a year. So I want to say thank you all for watching all of these videos. I'm not great at the whole YouTube thing. Like, I don't think that my videos are especially designed to keep people engaged, but they've been a really good outlet for me to talk about Pokemon, which is like one of my favorite things to do. Like, if you meet me, I'll be talking about Pokemon. So, yeah. I'm super grateful that people enjoy the videos that I make, and I want to thank you all for watching not just this video, but this entire series, and joining me on this journey. So, without further ado, let's get into the match. Game 1, I see no Crocodile, which is really nice, because that means that Iron Moth can be used to just, like, nuke something like Gligar, and I don't have to be like, oh, I need to save this Pokemon for Crocodile. I can just use Iron Moth's full breaking power, so that's really nice. Mismagius looks really good here, depending on the item on that Samurott. Assault Vest gave me a bit of trouble in testing, but I was still able to chip it down with hazards and force it to, like, die just by overwhelming the rest of his team. Because his team has a lot of type weaknesses, so he really doesn't have much flexibility in what he can go into in response to things. So if I'm, like, on the front foot, then I can just force damage on Pokemon like Gligar, Pecharunt, and Samurott. So, I lead off with Screamtail because that is my lead, and he leads off with Dragapult. I could have gone for Dazzling Gleam here, but I didn't want him to go into like Pecharunt or something, so I just set up Rocks, and he reveals Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave was one of the reasons, like Thunder Wave and Toxic were some of the reasons why Terapagos didn't come in this matchup, because I do think setup Terapagos is pretty strong, but setup Terapagos loses to status moves on Tapu Koko, Dragapult, and Pecharunt, and Gligar actually. So I was like, it can be an okay breaker, but if his team has enough special defense, he doesn't actually need to worry that much about Terapagos, except for in the niche scenario where, for example, like in week 6, I got a Leech Seed on Pecharunt, so I was able to win that 1v1. But yeah, Dragapult also reveals U-turn immediately, so that's great information. I think I just go for the, I go for the Dazzling Gleam there, get paralyzed, which doesn't make a huge difference, and I just roar out Gligar, and I bring in Ampharos. Ampharos just means free. Oh, I predicted a Pecharunt, so I actually clicked Psychic Noise there as Ampharos volts out. It's taking Rocks damage, so that's totally fine. And Gligar comes out here. I think I go for a Psychic Noise. No, I just go for a Roar. And just like in week 6, he has Defog, which is a bit scary. And he reveals Telepathy Koko. That does mean that Wild Charge is a lot less threatening. But that does also, but he then reveals Volt Switch, which is really bad, because that means that my Torn Lure isn't going to work as well. But Torn still has opportunities to get up a Nasty Plot, so it's okay. He volts into Samurott and gets roared out, and then finally Pecharunt threatens Screamtail with the knockout, so I go hard into Bisharp. And he goes for a smart click there and Nightshade to Sludge Bomb. I go for T-Wave because it's good against both Pecharunt and Samurott. I try and sack my Screamtail. Emphasis on the word try. So I go for some chip, I find out that it's AV, and then it gets paralyzed, and I'm like, okay, that's not great, because Swords Dance Iron Hands looks really good in this position. If I can sack my Screamtail and gets parried. So it's unfortunate for my opponent for sure, because he would have been able to force damage on Iron Hands, force switches, Terra, that kind of thing. Well, Terra doesn't really matter because Screamtail is basically dead already. But yeah, it's unfortunate for my opponent, but it's also a little bit unfortunate just like in general, because I would have been able to exert more pressure. I go Bisharp here, and insult to injury, no Aqua Jet chip comes out, as I just finish it off with a knockoff. Ampharos comes out here, and I just go for the knockoff to just get more chip on it, because I suspected that was just going to be a Volt Switch instead of an Agility. And Tapu Koko is back. I have no switch in, so I just sack, trying to get some chip with Iron Head. Actually, not chip, that's my chunk. Yeah. Iron Moth comes out here, armed and ready. I go for Acid Spray there, because I'm pretty sure that actually Oko's Tapu Koko, which is kind of crazy. I do get paralyzed here, but Dazzling Gleam removes Pult, which is really, really good for Iron Hands, because Iron Hands actually wins the 1v1 against both Gligar and Petrarunt, which is pretty funny. Because I am paralyzed, I suspected that Earthquake was going to come out, so I just go into Tauren here, and I think I just went, yeah, I went straight for Nasty Pot. And he unfortunately does have the Volt Switch to pop my Wakan Berry, but I'm at least forcing a kill, and the less options he has, the better it is for me. So Koko comes back out, and I don't want this setting up at all, so I just go straight for the Sludge Bomb and die. Mismagius comes out, and yet again, Volt Switch is just chunking my team, but he doesn't have any breakers besides Tapu Koko, so I'm just free to click Shadow Ball, because even though he's chipping me, he's not chipping me in range of anything. So I Shadow Ball, Tapu Koko comes back out, and I live Thunderbolt because Mismagius is the GOAT, and I get a massive hit off on that Pokemon. I believe I went to sack Iron Moth here. I think I just went for Overheat here to just try and hit Gligar for as much damage as possible. In hindsight, well, this turn right here, I should have clicked Acid Spray, because if I die, then Gligar's in range of Mismagius, and then Mismagius and Hands will clean up the game. But if Gligar roosts, then I can Acid Spray, and then it'll be at -2, and then it puts the fire on Gligar, and then I would be able to get a big chunk off with Mismagius, and then everything would be so low that I'd be able to win the game with Hands. But I switch out hard into Mismagius, and yet again, specially defensive Gligar just refuses to go down, especially with Roost. Like, non-Roost Gligar is actually a fraud, like, turbo fraud, but Roost Gligar is so good that I critical hit it and win the game. So, yeah, really lucky game 1, which kinda sucks because I didn't want to win by being lucky, but Mismagius wanted to kill Gligar, and that is something that happens when you're constantly looping recovery moves, but it is unfortunate for my opponent. I Terra Poison here just so that I don't die to anything like a Dazzling Gleam crit. It did open me up to like Thunderbolt, Para, full Para, but you know what? I just finished the game off. Like, so I'm up 1-0, and I don't make any changes in between the games because I think that this team is really strong. So let's talk about game 2. Same Pokemon, so, you know, pretty similar game plan. I lead off with Screamtail, and this time I just go for the Dazzling Gleam because if he lets me get Chip on Pult, that's really nice. And Shadow Ball comes out. I wonder if he predicted me to Terra Ground on a Thunder Wave, but yeah, I basically just get damage on Pult for free because Screamtail's so tanky. And oh my god, that was insane play. Instead of going for Stealth Rock, I just go hard Bisharp on Gligar, the ground type, just so that I can force a knockoff, which is fantastic. So I knock off, revealing Samurott's Assault Vest, and I just go for Ceaseless here because I want to force him to reveal more information. I think I didn't go for Thunder Wave there because I felt bad about paralyzing him last time, because I do think that Thunder Wave was probably optimal. Or maybe I was predicting Koko. and I do force him to reveal Sacred Sword there, which means that there's less options for him. And I think I just Dazzle here. And Screamtail is so tanky that I don't die to Thunderbolt here, and I'm able to get my rocks up. So Screamtail putting in insane work, and things are really chipped now. Like Tapu Koko's lost a third of his health, which means that Mismagius just comes in, and yeah, Samurott has no Assault Vest. It might actually die. Yeah, Samurott dies on switch into Mismagius, but smartly, because Ampharos is worse than Samurott. Bloop sacks Samurott. I'm unfortunately not at full, so I don't leave Shadow Ball. If it was Hex, I would have stayed in, because Mismagius actually lives Hex from that range, I'm pretty sure. I barely hold on with Torn and hit the Bleak Windstorm, which is lucky. Like, I can't lie, I'm getting very lucky in the sense that nothing particularly bad is happening to me. Like, when I get paralyzed, I'm not moving ever, and my moves are hitting, which is honestly all I can ask for in Pokemon. So Torn came to play, but I don't need this Pokemon anymore. Like, Tapu Koko's already low, so I sacked Torn. Interestingly enough, instead of bringing out Mismagius, I just go into hands, going for game. But that Volt Switch does an annoying chunk, and I didn't talk about this. This Petronaut is Terra Ghost, which is annoying, because that means that even if I try and force it to Terra, my Iron Hand still can't Drain Punch on it. So Nightshade is just going to be doing an annoyingly large chunk, and I think it was a roll to kill with Earthquake, but I don't get it, which means I'm going to be taking another 20%, which there's like nothing I can do about that. Just claim my kill with hands. And Samurott comes in here, and I just Drain Punch here, just try and get my recovery back, and he reveals Flip Turn. That is his last move, which is really good, because no Sucker Punch on Samurott means that if I'm ever in a situation where it's Mismagius against Samurott, I can just click Shadow Ball for free. So I Drain Punch here. I get a crit, which does heal me a little bit more, but looking at how much health my hands was after leftovers, Earthquake wasn't killing me anyways, regardless of whether or not I crit. And I just decided to Drain Punch just to keep Gligar low, because if Gligar wants to roost, then I'm healing up a ton with my Iron Hands, like 20%, plus, like 20, I think like around 20% plus the leftovers. So just by spamming Drain Punch instead of Ice Punch, I can just guarantee that I bring Gligar in range of my Shadow Ball. So Tapu Koko comes out because, again, he's Aqua Jet, he's not Sucker Punch, which means that Mismagius is going to claim a second kill. I am in range of Aqua Jet now, but, you know, nothing I can do about that. Mismagius did its job, and just, like, punching big holes. And this is it. Iron Moth versus Samurott, who's going to win? Because Aqua Jet is super effective, and Samurott is no slouch. Any hit from Moth, like, kills, like, 2 Samurotts? No, kills 1 Samurott. But yeah, Aqua Jet comes out, crits, and it's not enough. Because I forgot to mention it. My Moth is EV'd to live 2 Adamant Sneasler Gunk Shots with no hazards up, and that physical defense investment saved me from going to Game 3. So, 2-0 win, and I'm going to the semifinals, baby. Top 4 is honestly a great showing for this team, because I'm really happy to see this team do well, because it has a lot of Pokemon that I think are really cool. So yeah, super happy to win. I'm excited to go into semifinals. I haven't actually played my semifinals match yet. So we'll see how that goes, and I will see y'all next week for my semifinals video. Peace.